Hi, Mr. Natural here from Mr. Natural's classroom. Well, now today in music theory what we're going to do is we've been learning to read in E flat, and we're going to continue that on. With E flat, the bottom line here, you see the green line, has been where 1 is. Also in the key of E, the bottom line is also number 1. So E flat or E, the bottom line would be the number 1. One of the things that happens is what happens when sharps and flats come up. Well, the thing is once we've used the key signature here to determine where 1 is, this is 4, 3, 2, points us at 1. We do not need these. And the global flats are mapped in as we're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in another key. We can just assume that, say we're playing in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, that those flats are automatically mapped in. So globally, they are the same everywhere, so we can discount them or toss them out. We don't really need the clef either because we're not doing names. We're just doing numbers, so you can toss the clef out as well. But what does happen is as the music is progressing, sharps and flats will come up throughout the music. So let's say that we are here on the number 3, and a flat is in front of that. Then that will be a flat 3. Okay, let's say that we are over here where 6 is at. If there's a flat in front of that, that is a flat 6. Let's say that we're here on 7 and there's a sharp in front of it. Then this would be a sharp 7. Now I know a sharp 7 is a 1. Don't worry about it. If the sharps or flats come up during the reading of the piece, we just take that. If it's a sharp, go up 1 chromatic tone, or if it's a flat, go down 1 chromatic tone. Now over here, same thing. In the key of E, if sharps come up, we use the sharps. If flats come up, we use the flats. Another thing to know about this is if a sharp or flat comes up in a piece of music, let's say in the right hand, it does not affect the same named note in the left hand. If I have a B flat, if I have a B and they put a flat on it, in my right hand, and there's a B at the bottom in the right hand, that B at the bottom is not a B flat. That would still be B neutral, because when you put an accidental on a note, it only affects that note and that note only. It does not globally affect them anywhere else in any of the other octaves. That's really important to know if you're reading a lot of Gershwin, because Gershwin uses 7 flats and 7 neutrals a lot in his pieces. Okay. Another thing is these things only affect as long as you're inside the measure. Once we cross over the measure boundary, all those sharps and flats are automatically canceled. Now, a lot of people like to nag you. If you have an E flat in a piece, later on in the next measure, when it goes back to being a normal E, they'll put a neutral sign on that. That is a nag. That does not need to be there. Or you'll see somewhere they'll have an F sharp, and then in the next measure there'll be an F, and they'll put a neutral sign in there to say, oh, it's no longer, that's just a nag. That should not exist. So anytime I see what I call a nag, I put a parenthesis around it, meaning we're looking at an accidental character that doesn't need to happen. So if we're playing somewhere, say, normally an A flat, and they put a sharp sign on that to raise it up, in the next measure they might put the flat back on the A to remind you it's going back to A flat. That's a nag. That doesn't really need to be there. Okay, the next most important thing is what happens with neutrals. It turns out sharps are sharps, flats are flats. You can think of sharps as male, flats as female if you wish, which they do in East Indian music. But the neutral sign is androgynous. The neutral sign is both male or female. And it really depends on where it comes up in what type of key signature. So here, in the E flat, if a neutral comes up, in any key that has flats in it, the neutral will act like a sharp, because it's getting rid of the flatness. So here's the number 4, here's the number 5, here's the number 1. If I have a sharp, if I have this note here, where it's normally flat, and I see a neutral, that neutral is now a sharp 4. If I see a neutral here on the 1, we're getting rid of the flatness and moving it up, so now it's a sharp 1. Or if it's here, it would be a sharp 5. So a neutral in the flat key will act like a sharp. Vice versa. In sharp keys, neutrals will act like and look like flats. So if I want to get rid of this C sharp here, if there's a neutral there, what's happening is it's taking that and it's lowering it down a half a step. So that would become instead of in this case, a 6, would be a 6 sharp. a 6 flat in the sharp keys. So in sharp keys, neutrals become flats. And again, the other problem with them is quite often those neutrals are indiscriminately used to remind you later on in the music that there was an accidental 2 or 3 measures before, and those are nags. So I put parentheses around the ones that are nags, and any neutral that's put into, say, I have an F sharp, and then I put the neutral in, and it's within the measure boundary, that's a real neutral. That's actually resetting back to the sharp that it would be. Or if I have an E flat, and I put in a neutral, I am getting rid of that E flat if it's within the measure. Once I cross over the measure, those neutral signs don't mean anything except to remind us that something had happened previously. Okay? In the next video, I'm going to bring up some things that, some music that I want to number. It's not music that makes any logical sense. And we'll see what happens and how to number these pieces as the flats, sharps, and neutrals come up in the key of E flat. So until the next video.